just mean as a snake. Make sure you ain't standing in his lane. Billy Clyde, tuggle rides alone, a legend written in dust and stone.
All rise. The Honorable Billy Clyde Tuggle presiding.
All right, folks, we're live. We got no plan. We got no plan at all. We went live without even planning on what we're doing. We're going to make sure we're going to do a little audio test here. We'll get there. Oh, come on now. Well, what the hell? They don't make it easy. I was trying to get all this set up ahead of time, and I had some issues with the stream key. Let's make sure we got some sound here. Click on live. Get all this set up ahead of time. There we go. Got us on our phone, but now I'm going to mute that. I know we got sound coming out. You know what? I had to open up a web. All right. I think we're ready. So we got to make sure. All right, we're going to look at Brian Enton to see if we got anything on the Lynette Hooker case. See what's happening over there.
Hey guys, thanks so much for checking out my show. Really appreciate it. Please click to subscribe. As always, I really appreciate it.
I like to watch him, Brian Enton.
In this episode, I am digging into major new developments
the two I like to watch.
With the Brian Hooker and Lynette Hooker story.
I'm telling you, even if you don't like Billy Clyde Tuggle, it's you talk too much, you clip it up to all the shit you people complain about. Watch someone else, that's fine. Just don't watch the fake AI videos that are a bunch of crap tossed together. They have nothing to do with what's being said on the narration, and then it's an AI voiceover. Now, I use AI to create icons, logos. I rewrite a script with AI to clean it up. But if you're going to watch YouTube and spend your time doing that, spend your time with somebody who's creating some content, even if they're using somebody else's content to supplement their own content. Just don't watch that fake AI shit, please. Now go over up if you're on the computer, you can take your phone and scan this QR code right here, and you can go get you some Possum County merchandise. I don't want to try to sell that right now, but take a look at that. It's also on Etsy. You can go on Etsy and search Possum County Workshop. Let's go find that for real, because I don't want to. Last time I said the wrong thing. Let's go on Etsy. Possum County Works, because the whole thing don't fit in there. They limit. It's Possum County Digital Workshop. But if you go to Etsy and search for Possum County Works, all one word. You'll find the thing there. We got honorary citizen certificates. We got landowner certificates. We got some, and we're going to be adding, I shouldn't say, I'm going to be adding something, but I don't want to say yet until we get it added. All right, we're going to switch back over here to me in the corner, and we're going to watch a little bit of this Brian Enton with the Lynette Hooker case over here, and we'll see if he's got anything. Now, he's good. Ashley Banfield's good too, because she just sits there and rambles that shit off, so you don't even have to do anything except let her ramble. But anyway, let's go see what Brian Enton has to say.
Story. Lynette Hooker, of course, went missing in the Bahamas. Her husband, Brian Hooker, they're from Michigan, said that she fell off of their dinghy, but there's been all sorts of suspicions about what really happened.
Bounced her ass right off the back of that dinghy.
That this is a murder investigation. And something else interesting. Let me show you this shot. I'm now in.
What did Billy Clyde Tuggle tell you last week? Hit her in the head with an oar, killed her, put her out in the ocean, dumped her. She's weighted down with the missing skin diving weight set. What is that? Buoyancy something device. BCD. Buoyancy? I don't know. It's a thing that counteracts your buoyancy. Two people the same size, one may float better than the other due to muscle mass and fat content and all that. So you got to balance out that belt with the weights on it to make you the right buoyancy so that you can dive without having to float to the water all the time. Now, what happens if you get too heavy, you sink to the bottom and you drown? I don't know anything about that, the water sports stuff, but let's get back over there.
In Fort Lauderdale, Florida, near the Coast Guard station, where the Hooker's boat is now.
Got the chat working. Last week, the chat wasn't working.
Last time I showed you guys, it was in Fort Pierce, Florida, taken into custody by the Coast Guard. Now it is here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, at the Coast Guard station in Fort Lauderdale. You can see it right back there. That's Soulmate. Why did they move it to Fort Lauderdale? What's going on behind the scenes? It seems like this investigation is really heating up. I'm going to get into all of it in this episode of Brian Enton Investigates. All right, hey guys, so I just got in the car because it started raining out here, but I want to give you guys the latest on the Lynette Hooker situation. First of all, according to reports, U.S. Coast Guard search teams and divers are now in the Bahamas searching for Lynette Hooker. And the reason that they are there looking in a very specific area is because there is GPS data that they now have obtained that does not match up with Brian Hooker's story, we are told, according to investigators. So what Brian Hooker said happened in terms of his location when Lynette went missing apparently is different from what they saw, what the investigators saw in the...
So, if you watch Ashley Banfield, one thing she gives a lot of attention to is the fact that he worked for AT&T, the cell phone company, and he drove around in a van, and he knew how to alter the GPS device in that van where he'd go somewhere else and they think he was at a different place. And so now she's on that thinking that surely that's what he did. Don't call me Shirley. Surely that's what he did to fake the GPS that night. And he had a couple of different watches, had the AIS, automatic identity system, whatever the hell it is. Got that on the drones too, but they got that system that automatically identifies where the boats are at so they don't collide into each other at night and all that sophisticated crap. We're not just going around like Gilligan's Island. We got a lot of shit out on those boats. Even the batteries for the electric motors store log file as to how long they were, where they were, GPS with all kinds of shit. The Billy Clyde I don't know about, but you can hear about it. This is what's going to sink him is the GPS data from different devices not lining up. I don't know that they'll ever find her body. They're sharks, right? But the sharks ain't going to eat that weight vest. The sharks ain't going to eat that dry bag. So they're not going to find her, but the sharks probably ain't going to eat the clothes, and they ain't going to eat the dry bag and a vest with the lead weights on it. You see pictures, the lead weight, it's a block, and it's got 2 slots in it, and a belt weaves through those slots, and you put as many of those blocks of lead as you need. Well, on hers, those lead blocks were painted pink. You see some pictures of her wearing that, and it's missing. They did not find that in the inventory of that boat. And there was some other weighted device, if I'm not mistaken, that was missing. And then one of the engines is missing. So Ashley Banfield is convinced that they tied her ass to that. Convinced that Brian Hooker tied her ass to that motor with that weight vest on and threw her ass in the water. Who knows? But I believe that the hanky-panky shenanigans with the GPS devices are what will put him in the clinker. All right, Billy Clyde's been over here clicking the mouse when I got this expensive button machine. Watch my button machine. Me in the corner. Me full screen. Me in the corner. Me full screen. Me full screen over here. We got no logos. We got no logos at all. Let's fix that. Okay, we want to buy me a coffee up there. True kind. We got on the air live with Billy Clyde. We don't have the right one set up. Oh, you know what? This is what we're supposed to have. It's on the air. On the air and me in the corner. Yeah, on the air, and there we go. Let's look at that. There we go. On the air, that's me running my big mouth. And then when we want the other people to run their big mouth, we go over here. Now I was with the mouse. Let's try it with the buttons. Me full screen. Ah, right. We got to update that on the button box. All right, let's just go back to on the air. Let's look at that. We'll fix that real quick. Watch this. Me full. And the scene we want is on the air, right? Now let's hit those buttons. Me in the corner. On air. There we go. Let's get rid of that Ulanzi stuff. There we go. Me in the corner. On the air. There we go. All right. Let's get back on it over here.
GPS information. And so it was enough of a difference and raised enough of an alarm to these investigators that now the U.S. Coast Guard has sent a team, got permission from the Bahamas, and sent a team to the Bahamas to search in that area for Lynette Hooker. So that is happening right now. Hopefully that will turn up something because, gosh, you think about Lynette Hooker's family. I mean, I've interviewed her daughter before. It's just so heartbreaking. Brian Hooker, Lynette's husband, a little bit of the backstory here. They're from Michigan. They lived on the boat Soulmate. He claims that the weather was rough, that she fell off the dinghy, but there have been holes in the story. He was in custody for 5 days in the Bahamas. While they were questioning him, they ended up letting him go. Lynette's daughter has been very skeptical of the story. Even Brian Hooker's friends, and if you go back and look at some of my previous podcasts, even Brian Hooker's friends have been skeptical of his story and say it just doesn't make a lot of sense. And there has been no sign of Lynette Hooker since he says she fell off of the dinghy. He said that he would stay in the Bahamas and search for her, but when he was let out of custody in the Bahamas, he very quickly left the Bahamas and has not been back since, and really hasn't been heard from.
I'm messing around. I'm sorry.
Have said over and over again that he maintains his innocence.
Let him ramble while we play
that
with
he
this.
misses his wife, that he wants to find his wife, that he had nothing to do with her disappearance, but at the same time, he left the Bahamas and has not been back and has not been actively searching. I have a really, really interesting guest today. His name is, wow, the lightning, is Tad Diabasi. He is a former federal prosecutor, but the reason I wanted to talk to him specifically about this case is because he is a preeminent expert when it comes to no-body homicides. So prosecuting homicides that don't have a body, when they never find a body, but they still decide to prosecute. And remember, the Coast Guard has said, first they said this was a criminal investigation, and now, according to reports, they're calling it a murder investigation. So there's definitely something criminal that they are looking into. And I want to talk to Tad again because of his expertise in no-body homicides. Tad, thank you for joining me. Really, really appreciate it. It's nice to meet you. I wanted to ask you about, with the Lynette Hooker case, federal sources are now saying that it is a murder investigation, which didn't really come as that big of a surprise to me because they were officially calling it a criminal investigation before, and we knew that they impounded the boat and the Coast Guard has been investigating. But what do you think is going on behind the scenes in terms of them now actually saying murder investigation?
Sure. Well, first, thanks for having me on, Brian. I appreciate it. I think,
I'm gonna turn that off
one of
for
the
now.
things
I
I
just wanted
talk
to
about
try
when I
that.
talk to police and prosecutors is it doesn't make sense to sort of call it a missing persons case or a murder investigation. It doesn't much matter what you call it. It much more matters how you treat it internally. And I think what the police are saying here is they're treating it like a murder investigation, which is exactly how it should be treated. Because if you treat it like just a missing persons case with the idea that this person may turn up, I think you use different resources. You maybe don't go to the great extent that you might if you treat it like a murder case. So to hear that it's treated like a murder case, to me is comforting, for lack of a better word, because that's how you want a case like this, that in the best case scenario, according to Brian Hooker, she fell overboard not to be found again. I think you use different resources. In the best case scenario, in his view, it's some type of accidental death, but it's very clear that she's not really missing. She's either died by accident or died by a murder, even according to his story.
Yeah, and I was just out. They had his book. I mean, not his book. They had his boat at the Coast Guard station in Fort Pierce. It's now been moved to Fort Lauderdale, which is kind of interesting. I was just out looking at it. It's still, impounded by the Coast Guard. It's now at the Coast Guard station in Fort Lauderdale. What do you? I mean, they must have some probable cause or something, all right, to actually take his boat from him to search and just be holding it. Like, what had to happen for them to be able to do that?
So I think, and what I'm going to say is only based on sort of what I've read publicly, what I've been told. I haven't spoken to the police, but it seems to me the probable cause in this case is, by his own story, they're coming from they're coming from land in a dinghy back to their boat, which is significantly larger than this 8-foot dinghy, and she falls overboard. That's the story that he's told publicly. But what we also know is both his GPS and his onboard ship navigation, which I think is called AIS, both of those things don't match the story that he told. The GPS doesn't seem to match where he told the police or the Bahamian authorities where he was, and the AIS was actually turned off from the night of the April 4th all the way to the morning of April 5th. So those things right there, in my mind, if I was a prosecutor on the case and someone presented that to me.
Another thing to consider, folks, is they took this from a missing persons case to the investigation of a homicide. So can you assume that they found something in the boat that they were... Get my head off that chat over there. Let's see. Let's move that camera over just a little bit. There we go. That's all right. That's fine. Let's see what that looks like when we go over here to me in the corner. I don't like that too much. We left that shit alone. All right. So it doesn't matter whether they call it a missing person or a homicide. One of the guys in here was saying it matters how they're actually treating it internally, not what they're telling the media. But for them to go to a murder investigation from a missing person, one could assume, maybe not, but one could assume that they found some DNA or some fresh blood, which is DNA, but you know what I mean, in the boat that would reference there being a problem. Who knows? But they did go from a missing person to a murder case officially, I believe.
I'd say, well, that's enough probable cause to say, let's go get this boat and see whether anything actually happened on the boat, not on the dinghy. Because if you're going to have...
So Banfield, she keeps talking, and then she says, well, he's not been convicted or charged with anything. But sooner or later, and then she goes on to say, tick-tock, motherfucker. Meaning, your time's running out and you will be charged. We'll get your ass up there in the United States in prison.
Any evidence, be it DNA, blood, fiber, trace, any signs of a struggle, and it's on the boat, that's inconsistent with his story, which was she fell out of the dinghy. She didn't fall off of the...
Yeah, poor guy. You look behind me, other side. Look behind me. Between my head and the guitar neck, you see Billy J. Spanklin just laying there. I'm going to go get him off. He looks like he's been killed. There we go. No disrespect to Billy J. Where I got nowhere to put him. I'm not going to sit here and hold him. No. But I got nowhere to put him where he's going to be on camera. All right, anyway. You remember Billy. I'm Billy Clyde Tuggle. This is Billy J. Spanklin. Now, he is an official AI deputy who has been promoted to wildlife officer. Now he takes care of the real wildlife and those damn AI cats and those AI moose that chase people and shit. But he's real. He's not AI, but he can go AI to get into that world. Like if you ever saw the show Fringe, you got the two worlds they go in and out of. Billy J. Spanklin, he's a real life. He's not a puppet. He is a ventriloquist dummy and an AI wildlife officer of Possum County. I'll lay him down right there. Respectfully, he's back there laying like he's all dead and shit. All right. Sorry, let's go back to Brian
Now,
Ensign.
of course, my understanding is they basically live on this boat. So is it possible something happened, on the boat at another time? And, certainly people can cut themselves in their house and things like that and leave DNA behind in their home. But to me, given that he's
By the
told
way,
an inconsistent story, that to me is particularly
that right
damning.
there,
because one of the
that
things
hat
I've
right
said
there
in the
came
no body
from
murder case is if
Team
the person
U.
who is the last
Team
person
U.
to have seen
About
this
$4.
person or is an obvious suspect,
Harbor
in this
Freight,
case a husband
Team U.
with a missing wife, if they're telling a lie
Oh,
about
what the hell?
something,
Oh, we knocked
that's
something off.
very
That's all right.
concerning and very damning. And if they're telling a lie about something that is so critical to the investigation, that is, according to him, she fell overboard and she's missing, why would you be lying about where you were? Or why would you not be truthful about maybe why you turned off the navigation, the location system in your boat when it's critical for the authority?
I'm trying to pause that. I had the mouse on the other screen, so it wasn't in focus, so it wouldn't pause it. Now, when you have a suspect who has been proven to be lying about one thing, how do you know they're not lying about everything? Or, oh no, when you interviewed me last time I was lying, but I swear now I'm telling the truth. Once you prove that they're lying, you got to assume that everything might be a lie. You don't know. That's when maybe just put a hook. Look at, I got an idea. You put them on the polygraph test. Everything's going fine. And you have one of your deputies sneak up behind and tase the son of a bitch while he's on the polygraph machine. That ought to do it.
To be able to search the right place to, in the best case scenario, find her. In the worst case scenario, recover her
Polygraph
body.
tase.
Those would be very concerning to me. And I think what's happening here is exactly what should be happening, removing the boat from the water and being able to give it a very thorough search.
I want to introduce you guys to the sponsor of today's episode, Incogni. I had another friend just
We may actually have a viewer over there.
I'm identity stolen, and it is such a helpless feeling when you
And
realize
again, they
that
both,
someone
one's my
has
phone,
stolen
one's
your
the
identity,
computer.
and you
No
don't even
one's
know where to
watching.
begin to fix it. We're all at
Bastards.
risk. I've been alerted by several banks I've used that there was a data breach,
All
that
right,
my data is
Incogni.
out
Yeah,
there.
we got a commercial
And
on
criminals
there.
can
We
get
know,
to
Brian.
make sure that my data is
Come on now.
incogni.com.
Come on now.
Beyond a
There
reasonable.
we go.
Gary, if you just
Nope.
22 years. You know what? I'm done.
Gary,
done.
Don't call me.
Come
No
back, Gary.
doubt.
You son of
There's
a bitch.
obviously, there's differences between those two things.
All
I
right,
think
we're
in
back.
this
Sorry about
case,
that.
they
I don't have
likely
YouTube Premium,
probable
as you
cause.
see.
What I'd want to know is, do the police or the prosecutors have any information that is inconsistent with his guilt? That's important because that's something that is not usually given out publicly. And I would want, as a prosecutor, before I signed off on a warrant for an arrest, I'd want to know that. I'd also want to be absolutely certain that what we were talking about with the boat location.
What? The guy on the left over there, I don't know what he's up to, but everybody's got either a backdrop they created. You see everything back there? That is real stuff. You see my guitar, you see my racing simulator, you see pictures on the wall. You see those things on the wall? One's above my head and one's up in the corner. It looks like a camera. Those are sensors from the old VR headset, the original VR headset. And I got the Quest 2 now, which pisses me off, but I don't use those. But I still got those up there just in case. Someday I may, they're quarter 20 threads. I may unscrew those sensors and put cameras up there. And that would be really good for the racing simulator. We do the racing simulator on another channel. This channel started off as running the truck simulator, and I want to get on here and act a fool like I'm doing now while driving the truck, and it just, nobody was watching. It just evolved to this. I got a decent following considering I don't have very many subscribers on the shorts and stupid joke of the day and all that stuff. We just need to get a little bit more participation on these live chats, I don't do any podcasts on this channel. I do some podcasting on Gray Line Racing. If you like real NASCAR racing and iRacing, gaming, iRacing, at Gray with an E, at Gray-Line-Racing. And you can see some gaming, some racing. We got iRacing. We got Assetto Corso Rally. And we got the American Truck Simulator mainly is what we're doing over there. But over here, we converted from starting out as that American Truck Simulator into just what we're doing here, just acting stupid, watching other people. I don't got to do any work. I don't got to know anything. We go over here, we listen to them, and then I make fun of them a little bit. I talk too much and ramble, diarrhea of the mouth, and then we let them talk a little bit. It all just works out. And if you don't like it, change the fucking channel.
System and the GPS is 100% correct, because as we all know, sometimes in the beginning of an investigation,
Billy Clyde
you
tried
learn
to start
something
no
and you think, oh, gotcha, this
Sorry.
is the information, this is damning. But then when you dig through it, it's maybe not quite clear, or maybe there is
The
an
sound bars
explanation as
look-
to why something
Maybe
was
my
turned
voice
off.
is a little too
All
loud.
of that information, I would really
wanna
want to
watch
make
those
sure that
meters.
is locked
It'd be
solid.
about
And then
minus
in
12
order,
decibels.
once you have the arrest, of course, probable cause is nowhere near the same as guilt beyond a reasonable doubt.
Guilt.
I would really
Whoa,
want to
whoa,
make
whoa.
sure that we have more information, and there
take care-
does
I'll
appear to
take
be more
care of this.
information out there. I think the daughter of
Brian Hooker, guilty as charged. You going to prison, you son of a bitch.
Lynette has publicly spoken that they had a somewhat volatile relationship. There were often problems
Done.
when either he drank or they drank. So those types of things, you start to build that information about the relationship between the two of them, and that's what's going to take you potentially from probable cause.
Speaking of the relationship between the two of them, they have a history of violence, domestic violence. That's not uncommon, but different levels. People do different shit and get themselves in different types of trouble. But he had strangled his 12-year-old daughter. She strangled her when she was 12. She's no longer 12. And I believe she never spoke to him again after that. He has strangled Lynette, and then he later threatened, like, I should have finished the job. But she also punched his ass, and he had a bloody nose, and she got arrested. Arrest them all. But in both cases, her punching him, I don't think anybody was charged. There's not enough evidence. You got to go home and work your own shit out. But the choking of the 12-year-old, he was charged and acquitted of that. What is the hell is that? I can't think of the term where this happens with a lot of children that get, accused of being molested and all that, and they've been asked so many questions and stuff that they begin to believe stuff. Yeah. There's a term for that, and I can't think of it. I just heard it yesterday. But 12-year-old, you ought to a little bit older than to do that. You ask a 5-year-old enough questions, he's going to say, oh yeah. And then the next day he remembers it. He said, oh yeah. 3 weeks later, he's still saying, oh yeah, and that shit didn't even happen. So when they're interviewing the little children, you got to be careful. But the kid he choked was 12 years old apparently, and he's got a history of this shit. Hit her on the head with an oar, threw in the water, took off. Done. Guilty as charged. Of course, innocent until proven guilty, unless you come to Possum County. Possum County, USA, we do whatever the hell we want. We'll fry his ass right now. We'll tase him. We'll cuff him up. Tase him while he's cuffed. Then we'll throw him in jail. Forget the paperwork. And once everybody kind of, hey, whatever happened to that Brian Hooker guy? Oh, shit, well, I don't know what happened to him. Then we take care of his ass.
Pause to a case where you say, yeah, we have guilt beyond a reasonable doubt.
What was the phrase you said, information inconsistent with guilt? Is that what you said?
Yeah, so if there's some sort of exculpatory information, even though I might have information that seemingly points to Brian Hooker as having done something, if I also have information that says, well, wait a second, he has an explanation for why he said where he was is different than the GPS, because he said, I was searching for her. I was so exhausted. I couldn't keep track of where we were. Or there is some indication that there was someone else there, a third party that could have done something. Well, wait a second. We don't have any evidence.
Get a little sound chest on the phone.
Because we don't know all the information the police has, it is sometimes hard to say, on this information alone, you have probable cause, when you have to know, based on all of the information the police have, is that probable cause? Because what you don't want to do as a police or a prosecutor is just give the court all the damning information and not any information that may have provided an explanation as to why the boat location system went off, for example. Well, maybe it turns out that it broke down or the power went out on the boat. And then it's like, well, wait a second, then it's not that damning and it went off by accident. Those are the types of things I mean, is some evidence pointing away from the guilt of your suspect.
Yeah, that's interesting you say that, because I think most people don't think about prosecutors doing that. You think about that would be the defense later doing that, but you're saying at this stage you would still want to know, what do you have?
Absolutely. Because for two reasons. One, you want to make sure you're truthful in front of the court and you're not hiding anything from the court. And the court looks at it and signs off and says, yeah, arrest this guy. And then they find out that the prosecutor and the police knew this information that pointed away from the suspect. They're not going to be happy about that, let alone if you're getting, if you're trying to set up a case to take it to trial or get a guilty plea. You as the prosecutor, number one, you have to turn over that information to the other side under the Brady rules and discovery obligations. But two, you don't want to move forward on a case if you know there's something in the background that says, hey, maybe he didn't do this. You want to continue your investigation and say, let's really lock down whether what we think is true is actually true. There's something called, the fog of war, and it's sort of like the fog of an initial investigation. And any investigation I've ever been involved in. There's always been some information that comes out initially and you say, oh, this is great, or this means one thing. And then when you dig down or you find more information, you say, oh, that didn't mean what I thought it meant. And I think you have to be very cautious. You don't ever want to rush to judgment, particularly in a case here where I think there's some understanding that unfortunately Lynette Hooker is probably deceased. So it's not like we're going to save her by making a quick arrest or something like that. The police have some time to take their time to really develop the case before making an arrest.
What do you think they were looking for on the boat? Because we saw them going on and off the boat once they impounded it, and it looked like a crime scene text, and they had tape up around the boat.
I think they are definitely looking for forensic evidence, number one. I think they are
Bodily
also,
fluids.
and frankly, I was going to say a number two, but I think frankly that forensic evidence is sort of...
You said they're looking for number two. I don't think they're looking for number two, buddy.
Traditional forensic evidence, DNA, blood, hair, fiber. But I think they're also looking for sort of what I'll call ship forensics, right? Can we tell why this system was shut off? What are the other systems on a boat? I'm not a boat guy. I don't know if they have like a black box like a plane has that's going to show the location. That's somehow
the
different
AIS
from
you
this
mentioned
AIS
earlier.
system.
Yeah.
Those types of things. I think they're going to be really doing a very careful scrubbing, of this boat.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think they'll find a body. They're going to have circumstantial evidence to some degree, which don't seem like they have a lot of that. But they're going to hang him with digital content, I believe, like the actual log files on this system or another, not matching with another system, and he's got the big nice Garmin navigation watch, and he had a secondary watch, and the navigation details that are in the electric motor and batteries. I believe they said the data gets stored on the batteries. And he had another motor, and that motor's missing, and you can switch the batteries out. They're going to figure out, because they're already saying your story and what the GPS device's story is, because if you use anything like GPS on your phone a little bit, or you use golf watches, I have golf watch I wear every Sunday, and I fly drones, which GPS is the whole key to the drones. That GPS shit is accurate down to like an inch or so. Return to home, bring the drone back. That son of a bitch will come back right where it was. That's all off satellite data. So his watches, more than one, her Apple Watch, her secondary watch that he got her as a gift and she didn't like, so she wasn't wearing it. And then all that, there's devices all over that damn boat. He was a gadget guy. Although he said, I don't know how to install a WhatsApp on my cell phone, even though I used to work for a cell phone company and I could manipulate the GPS in my van. Anyway, they're going to find something he missed on this GPS shit, and they'll find out, and all they got to do is find that weight belt, for instance, that dry bag, the key to the dinghy that he said she had, which I don't believe, but anything she may have had on her person that went down with her, and the sharks take her away and leave the weight belt, proven and located by the GPS that doesn't match his story, they're gonna get digital forensic evidence, if that's the right term. Billy Clyde's a judge, not a detective. So, and furthermore, we're just making shit up. Let's go back.
What evidence is there of their life aboard this ship? Was there evidence that they had been drinking? Is there any evidence at all of a struggle that occurred on the boat?
They drank and they fought. Those two things go together.
And most of them have some type of even small railing. Is that broken off? Meaning, maybe someone could have fallen off either on purpose or accidentally. I think they're going to use this boat as a crime scene because they don't know right now exactly where the crime scene is, number one. And number two, because in this case, the crime scene is an ocean. You're not really going to be able to find anything unless you recover the body. You're certainly not going to get DNA from the ocean at large. You're not going to get hair or fiber
All right,
or
folks,
anything.
I think we're going to take about a
recovering the
3-minute
body.
intermission. I got to go walk the dog on what we call final pee. It's 10:49. We usually take him out around 10:30 for his final pee of the night so that he don't have to hold it any longer than possible. So we are going to go over here to the starting soon thing. We will be right back.
40 tons of steel and a heart full of grit. Whiskey in his veins, he don't give a shit. He's a truck driving son of a bitch, burning rubber till the morning comes. Rolling fast, raising hell, one step ahead of a county jail. Billy Clyde, Tuggle don't back down. He takes the long way through a one-horse town. He don't need no map, don't need no plan. He'll drive through fire to stick it to the man. Steam into Spain and show you ain't standing in a tank. We'll drive till the rise of home, unless you're then burst in a storm. Restless, mean as a snake. Make sure you ain't standing in his lane. Billy Clyde, Tuggle rides alone, a legend written in dust and stone. "40 tons of steel and a heart full of grit. Whiskey in his veins, he don't give a shit. He's a truck driving son of a bitch, burning rubber till the morning comes. Rolling fast, raising hell, one step ahead of a county jail. Billy Clyde, Tuggle don't back down. He takes the long way through a one-horse town. He don't need no map, don't need no plan. He'll drive through fire to stick it to the man. Steam into Spain and show you ain't standing in a tank. We'll drive till the rise of home, unless you're then burst in a storm. ruthless, mean as a snake. Make sure you ain't standing in his lane. Billy Clyde, tuggle rides alone, a legend written in dust and stone. 40 tons of steel and a heart full of grit. Whiskey in his veins, he don't give a shit. He's a truck driving son of a bitch, burning rubber till the morning comes. Rolling fast, raising hell, one step ahead of a county jail. Billy Clyde, tuggle, don't back down. He takes the long way through a one-horse town. He don't need no map, don't need no plan. He'll drive through fire just to stick it to the man. Christus, steam into Spain, and show you ain't standing in a tank. We'll drive till the rise of home, unless you're then burst in a storm.
All right, folks, we are back live. I had to pee the dog. I had to go out to the street and get the trash cans. Forgot about it. It's nearly 11 o'clock. The cans are still out there. I've got the chat working. We got the chat working. We got a text in there. Billy Clyde, all it said. All right, let's get back to Brian Enton.
The boat really becomes the stand-in for, it's the best crime scene that we've got, so we've got to make sure we process it as well as we can.
Is it an issue that...
Yeah, so they take the boat and they haul it from the Bahamas up to Florida. How often do you get to move the crime scene?
They
That's
got
monumental.
the boat, a month plus
Whoa, what are you drinking
later.
there, son?
It's not ideal.
Yeah.
You're going to have to ask who had control of the boat during that month period.
It looks
Did Brian
like somebody
Hooker
might have
control?
connected
Did
while we were out getting the cans and just
Bahamian,
quickly
officials
disconnect.
have control?
That's
What
all
did
right.
they do? Is there
That's
anything
all
that
right.
they did that may...
I've posted so little in the last month, yet the views and watch hours have gone up. Had I been posting, we would probably be kicking ass on the channel here. And it was just not long ago that we had like 85 subscribers. And I said, whoa, let's try to get this to 100. Well, we're now at 185, and let's get this to 200.
compromise any evidence that might be able to be collected. For example, there are sometimes sprays, luminol, and things like that when you're looking for evidence, but they can also have an effect on the evidence as well. And so you really...
If you watch Brian Enton over there, now again, I'm not making fun of him because I already said he's one of my... Out of all this Nancy Guthrie shit that was going on for months, he's got probably the best stories, and he was on scene a lot, almost all of it really, until it got kind of like started to get cold and he went home. So I'm not picking on him, but he kind of, sometimes you watch him, it looks like he's about to fall asleep. That's just how he looks. He's not falling asleep. He's doing all right.
They have to ask yourself,
there he goes.
What happened during those intervening 30 days? Ideally, what you would want is the day that Brian Hooker spoke to the authorities, you'd want that boat in custody with a very clear chain of custody and a very clear indication of...
Yeah, they should have got that boat sooner. And then, you know that there were a bunch of captains turned it down. There were two captains on that boat. This is a normal business practice. You're a hobbyist boater, sailor, and you got your boat stored down there in the Bahamas. You fly down there on your corporate jet, you sail around, you come back. But if you need to move that boat back to the United States for maintenance or to sell it or do whatever, you don't spend your own time. You just hire a boat captain like Captain Ron. Remember Kurt Russell, Captain Ron? You hire a captain to float that thing back where you want it. So Those two captains were bringing that boat back in the Coast Guard, CGIS, Coast Guard Investigative Services. They said, wait a minute, and they took the boat away. I don't know what they did with them, if they took them back or took them with them. I don't know, but look at all the evidence that could have been trampled upon while those two guys were transporting that boat from the Bahamas to Florida.
Who came on and off that boat, via crime scene log or something like that. I don't know whether that happened here, but it is certainly less than ideal that the U.S. authorities, if they're hoping to move forward in a prosecution, didn't have consistent control over that boat the entire 30 days.
If they don't ever find Lynette's body, and I know you're an expert on no-body homicide
we got somebody watching again.
If her body never turns up, and I hate to say that, I mean, of course, everybody sort of hopes there's a miracle and she's like,
watch and put something in the text, it'll ding, like I'll know you're here, and we just ask a question. Likely.
Right. If they never...
Instead of just sitting here listening to these two guys and making shit up, if you want to ask a question about Nancy Guthrie, what else is going on out there? They never found that general, right, roaming around out there in New Mexico. It's somebody that he worked with. All in all, there are several people missing from classified network projects that all had something to do with that general. If Google that up when you're bored one day and just kind of can create your own conspiracy theory about that general and other people that he was associated with regarding UFO shit and other shit. I don't know. Just take a look.
For locator, and apparently they're starting to search right around now. There's a new dive team from the Coast Guard that's been sent to the Bahamas.
Yes.
They have the new GPS data. But if they come up with nothing, is that a big problem in terms of prosecution?
Whoa.
Hey, what the hell? Wait.
We got more commercials. All right,
so generally, nobody murder cases
I don't want to
are hard to get to trial because you often don't know.
What I have done sometimes is I'll watch the whole video, snip the commercials out later, snick the boring shit out, and if they say or and I'll snip. I just don't have time to create content, record it, watch it, react to it, then go back and edit it, and then post. I just don't have time lately. I do not have time to do that. So we're watching this on the fly. It's not live, but we're also not editing it. So when the commercials pop up, Billy Clyde can't help it. Billy Clyde, why you got commercials? You know why we got commercials.
Know when the murder happened, where the murder happened, or how the murder happened. Yet in this case, interestingly,
hit her on the head with an oar, tied some weight to her, dropped her in the water. Done. You remember this, right? I need to show that this side's got some... I need to either clean that up or get some paint on that. That doesn't look good. Billy Clyde's official. Now look at this is an official Harbor Freight gavel. Matches the hat. This is officially. Now I got a smaller one, but I don't think it's in here. That's like for juvenile court, I think. Let's see what. I'm trying to see the sticker's faded. It says Harbor Freight right on there, Pittsburgh. There it is. This is a 1.5 pound Harbor Freight official Possum County gavel. You, sir, are guilty.
We don't know how the murder happened exactly, but we do know where and we do know when. So ordinarily, I would say anytime I'm faced with a prospect of a no-body prosecution, I say, yeah, it can be very difficult to get to trial. But in this case, I think it's a lot easier because you have some significant evidence that you don't ordinarily have. The prosecution are still going to have to prove, was it Brian Hooker who did it? And maybe prove how he did it, although that's not necessarily required for a murder case. And of course, he's probably going to stick with his story of she fell overboard, which has some issues on its own. You know, this is someone who's very experienced being on the water. Was apparently a strong swimmer, even in difficult conditions. And And of course, why didn't he dive and look for her? I don't know how much evidence there is of that. But so if you look at the pantheon of no body murder cases, you have, cases on one side that are very difficult, will probably never be prosecuted, cases that are very strong. I would put this towards the stronger side because a lot of the information you don't usually have in a no body murder, in a missing persons case. You do have this information here. By his own admission, he was the last person to see her. By his own admission, she went into the water. So you have.
Don't forget to get over there to Possum County Works and get your legendary, honorary Possum County Citizenship Certificate. Rush on over there right now and get them while they're hot. Easiest thing to do is just go to Etsy. You log in there anyway, and then search Possum County Works, all one word, and you'll find the shop.
Have a lot of this information you don't ordinarily have. There have been a number of no body murder cases involving people thrown overboard.
Let's just take a look right now. Real quick. You got the Possum County Honorary Citizenship Certificate. Now we got two forms of each one. You can get the immediate download and you fill it out yourself, or you get the personalized one in which we fill your name in that Possum County kind of burnt orange umber color we use. Got a bundle there. And when you get if you get the bundle, is that the bundle? Yeah, this is the bundle. Now look at here. On the bundle, you get the land deed. You get the Possum County map with your plot number on it. You get an autographed Billy Clyde 8x10. You can't beat that. And there's your honorary citizen certificate. So, don't forget to rush on over there.
It's obviously not, I don't want to call it a common occurrence, but in the
Possum
no
County
body
Works,
world
get your
of cases
Possum
that went to
County
trial,
garb.
it is not uncommon this scenario that we're looking at here.
Now remember, I said this, like, you watch an online streamer, whether it's racing or a news, they got, get the merch. And what they end up doing is trying to sell you a t-shirt for between $35 and $60 for a t-shirt. You go up there to buy me a coffee up there, it's Fuel the Madness. You click on that. Well, you take your phone and you scan it. I say click. You click your phone, you scan it. It says open in Edge or open in Chrome. Then you click that and it goes to the web page. And you find yourself, then you can hit the little shop. Now that's for buying me a coffee. It's called Fuel the Madness. You can get the same items on Etsy as you can on Fuel the Madness. Buy me a coffee. There's also just a tip jar there, $2. Buy me a coffee and you don't get anything for it. So whatever you want to do, we're not begging. If you want something personalized, it's a little easier to do on Etsy, I think. So take a look at those and go buy, if you're, well, shit, I don't even know what it is. If you don't want to buy the bundle right off the bat, go just buy one of them. Check it out. You like it? And then you say, well, maybe I'll get that whole bundle and I'll be famous. Like the legendary Scranny Shark. Let's get back in there.
And it seems like something easy for a jury to understand, too. Like, it's the ocean, the body didn't turn up.
Yes,
so you can wrap
absolutely.
your mind around that and make sense.
Yes, and I'll give you two other things that a jury would understand. 54% of all no body murder cases that have gone to trial have involved domestic relationships between the two people, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, boyfriend, ex-girlfriend, parent, child. So in those cases, in a missing persons case, no body murder, it's kind of obvious. Well, if I'm a husband and my wife, I kill my wife, what's the smartest thing I should try and do? It's get rid of the body, because I'm the number one suspect. If they come to my house and my wife is dead there and I'm there, that's really bad. If
There
I
we
can
go.
somehow get rid of the
I hit
body,
that
I'm going to
damn
take
toolbar across
suspicion,
the bottom.
off myself. The number one place that bodies are disposed of in no body murder cases, when we can learn either after the case or because of the evidence in the case, we learn where the body was disposed of. The number one place is water disposal, because it makes sense. That is.
Now, again, I'm quoting Ashley Banfield. I don't. She said, "Now, I didn't hear this from an law enforcement officer. I heard it from Ashley Banfield. She said that the cadaver dogs have a hard time finding the cadavers in the dump because there's a lot of rotting other mass in there that confuses their senses. Now, I think they're probably more accurate than that, but it gets me the damn dog can smell a body in the water. That is insane. Dogs are awesome.
Is the most difficult place to recover a body. You can't use a canine on the ocean, right? But you can use the canine in woods. You have people who are looking in the woods, looking for bodies. You don't generally have people who are just randomly searching in 25 feet of water of the ocean. You know, all of us go to the beach and we're there at the shore, but we're not offshore looking for bodies. And of course, there are creatures there and things, ways that bodies can unfortunately get disposed of. So those two things right there, I think, are both, as you said, easy for a jury to understand why her body may be missing and why he may have done it this way so that the body would not be found.
Yeah, I'm wondering, you know, since so much time has passed, even though this new search is now happening, it just seems it would be difficult for something to turn up at this point.
Yes, there are very few cases with water disposals where the body is found. There's a very famous case out of Delaware involving a defendant named Tom Capano, who ended up killing his girlfriend, a woman named, I believe, Marianne Fahey, and he put her in an igloo cooler and eventually successfully sunk the cooler. And she was never found, even though she was inside of.
All right, Igloo, let's sue that son of a bitch for using the name brand in a negative content like that.
Of a cooler, and so somewhat protected from the elements. And so it is not at all uncommon to have these water disposals where there is never any body found.
I already talked about this too. Those of us who watch Dexter, we already know all this shit.
In terms of his he was questioned. He was in custody for 5 days in the Bahamas and interrogated, and apparently cooperated some.
I did not realize he was in custody for that length of time. I thought it was only like a day or two.
Somewhat. I mean, I think he was answering their questions at least for part of that time. And the law in the Bahamas, they kept him there for 5 days, right until the last second when they had to release him and said they didn't have the evidence, but said something like, "This isn't over, but we had to release him." And then he came right back to the United States. What do you think that means, that he was in custody for 5 days and that apparently he didn't say anything that was enough to arrest? I mean, is that going to be an issue?
No, because, you know, we haven't seen the full transcript of what he said, but we do know that he apparently said enough to tell the authorities what his actions were. And now looking at the GPS, which I don't know if that occurred in the first 5 days or not, but the U.S. authorities are able to say, well, that's in.
If you heard him blathering on that call in which his friends recorded him, you can imagine what he would. A lot of times these guys, it's pretty common if you watch these interrogation shows, they think that they're smarter than the cops, and if they just keep talking, it's better. When in fact, the more you talk, you sound foolish, you're more apt to make a mistake. So just the next time you kill someone and you get interviewed, say as little as you possibly can. Just keep your mouth shut. You start explaining shit away and it works against you, I guarantee it. That's straight out of Billy Clyde Tuggle's law book.
Consistent with what you said. So right there, that's actually a helpful feature of getting the person to talk.
By the way, I haven't said this in a long time, but Breaker, breaker, 1-9. Here come the judge, Billy Clyde Tuggle, the truck driving son of a bitch. Part-time truck driver, part-time lawyer, part-time judge, full-time son of a bitch. But I took that out because I wanted to stop cussing, but nobody's watching anyway, and it ain't monetized, so the hell with it.
And from my understanding, what he said was a pretty simple story. We're in the dinghy, and just earlier today, I saw a picture of the dinghy.
Three people watching, and 2 of them are me. What the hell?
2 people,
Get
2
some shit
adults
over there
in
in
an
the
8-foot dinghy. It's pretty
please,
crowded in
very
there.
Small, yeah.
You could imagine it very easily, someone falling out and tipping off, excuse me, and falling out and tipping off.
Hold on. I gotta show you
also
something.
his story.
I gotta show you something. Let's look. We're gonna remove that logo so you can see his logo. Look at that stupid. Look at that. Brian Enton, I think you ought to make yourself look a little more handsome than that thing right there. And that's just me. I don't know. Now I can't find it. Damn, there it is. Put that logo back up there.
Story
All right,
is
let's go.
very simple. She fell
Billy
off.
Clyde, quit fucking
She
talking.
wasn't able
Jesus.
to swim. I couldn't find her, and therefore she went missing. And that is a very basic,
bounced right
simple
off that
story.
dinghy.
There's no, you don't have, you can consistently stick with that story. And if the body is never recovered,
I got an idea. Brian Hooker, if you're listening, take a hint from Billy Clyde. Declare yourself as a sovereign citizen. I don't go by your laws in the U.S. I was just traveling in my boat. Her ass bounced off the dinghy. That's all I know. I floated away. Oh no. But I'm a sovereign citizen. I don't go by your laws, so you can't arrest me. I know my rights. I didn't do nothing. I didn't do nothing.
it's very hard to disprove that story, except the way that the authorities seem to be doing it, which is, well, wait a second, you told us about your actions after this happened, and they are inconsistent with your innocent explanation for how Lynette is missing.
Could the U.S. prosecutors and the feds here use what he said during the interrogation in the Bahamas?
It's going to depend. That is a very good question.
It is a good question.
In a U.S. court of law.
By the way, he had his Bohemian attorney. He came back and got an attorney. And now he's got one of those highfalutin, higher up, better well-known attorneys, I believe, according to what I heard. I did not catch the attorney's name. I did not catch whether that new attorney was a he or a she. The first two were a she and a she. And the third one, I don't know. Not that it matters. It's just, I don't know. But apparently, a more highfalutin, higher up lawyer that used to belong to the Department of Justice, so should know the ins and outs of a federal murder investigation a little more than the one he hired out of Winslow, Arizona, or whatever the hell she was.
Of course, our rules of evidence would apply, not Bohemian. And so it would depend on, was he there voluntarily? Was he able to, he wasn't under the influence of drugs or drinking or anything like that. He was able to voluntarily give a statement. Was he read any sort of rights? I don't know enough about the Bahamas to know. I know they're an English-based legal system, but I don't know, would he have had to been read a Miranda?
So, you got an English-based legal system. Does that mean they wear those stupid fucking white wig, curly wig, cotton ball, fucked up looking? Well, hold on. They got a nice robe, just like Billy Clyde. I bet they get them on Amazon just like I did. But that wig they got's a little jacked up, I gotta tell you. Now, normally Billy Clyde would have a collared shirt on underneath this, but I just threw it on real quick. We had a couple. You ain't a real attorney. Well, now you know it, because I got my official Possum County Amazon judge's robe. So back off on the you ain't no real attorney, you ain't no real judge and all that shit. James West, my ass, went in there. Oh, you ain't no real attorney. I went in there. You got one video, and I called him out, and it looks like he deleted the video, changed the name on his account. He's gone. So if you're gonna come up here and tell Billy Clyde some shit, and you got no subscribers and no videos of your own, and you don't know what the hell you're talking about, yeah, all right.
Like right or something like that. So that's going to depend on whether that information can be used in a court of law.
Possum County works. Go get your citizenship.
That the feds here are now investigating and calling this a murder investigation when technically whatever allegedly.
Now, I've stated before that Possum County is a sovereign entity. However, we do not recognize sovereign citizens. We tase those sons of bitches just like you do in every other state. So Possum County, USA, sovereign entity, tases the sovereign citizens. You blink. It's a 1, 2, 3 rule. You knock on the glass. You can roll the window down. No! I need your driver's license. No! Get out of the car. No! Break the glass. Tase him. Drag him out of the car. Done. Possum County does not recognize the dumbass sovereign citizens. That's just, you come to Possum County and you start that shit, you will be tased. I can guarantee it.
Happened in the Bahamas.
The Mayo Clinic confirms that stuck poop can cause these embarrassing skid marks in your undies. You see, when stuck poop causes a traffic jam in your colon, your...
No, my understanding is they are both U.S. citizens, and U.S. authorities have jurisdiction over crimes happening to U.S. citizens, even in other countries. What I don't...
Speaking of, I had an idea. Over 92% of the people that watch anything are new viewers, so you haven't seen stuff from before, but we have what we stupid joke of the day, word of the day. I haven't done a word of the day in a long time, but I had another idea for phrase of the day. My absolute favorite phrase is, quote, "for fuck's sake."
No, is my understanding was this was Bahamas water. That's my understanding. So I don't know if there's still a different rule for if you're in international water or if you're in water that belongs to another country. But I do know that because they are both U.S. citizens, there is jurisdiction in the United States for any crime committed against a U.S. citizen in another country.
If you were working the case, would you have any concern about him running at this point? I mean, it's pretty obvious.
By the way, for any of you out there or fans of flying drones and whatnot, Billy Clyde has learned, since we're now FAA certified in Possum County to fly drones, you cannot fly out over the ocean. So you can go fishing at different lakes with a drone in which you drop your bait way out there farther than you could cast. My understanding, you cannot do that on the ocean, because as soon as... Now, international waters start several miles from shore, 3 miles from shore, whatever it is. I don't remember the international water. But international airspace starts at the shoreline. So you can't fly in the airspace above the ocean and be legal. Is much my understanding, and I passed that damn test if I didn't tell you that already.
Obvious that the investigation is heating up. It's criminal investigation. They've taken his boat.
Murder.
There's a search happening right now for Lynette.
Yes, I absolutely would have a concern, because we have someone who doesn't reside in the United States, seemingly seems to reside on this boat. Seemingly has the ability. I don't know how much money he has or anything, but if you're spending your life riding around on a boat, you're probably doing fairly well.
I got the mic probably too far away from me.
Speak to why at the very least I would either want to do a quicker arrest or at least petition a court to say, let's get his passport. We want his passport. We have enough information, maybe not enough for arrest, although I do think they have enough for an arrest, but petition a court to limit his travel. Because interestingly, and I think
you, sir, shall stay in the United States of America or else.
This, Brian, he initially said, I'm going to stay in the Bahamas. I want to find my wife. And then pretty much very soon.
They let him out of jail, and he was just like Billy Clyde. I'm out like a possum in the headlights, and he got a special, he got a special visa. And his ass was out of the Bahamas almost immediately.
And after he was released, he came back to the United States, which is also a bit incriminating, because if what you have said is right and you innocently lost your wife in an accident and you're telling people, oh, I want to stay here and find her, and then you immediately leave, that to me is particularly damning as well. Now, he could argue, oh, I was afraid they were going to arrest me because they thought I did something wrong. Fine. But I do think it's telling that he immediately came back to the United States as soon as pretty soon after he was able to.
Yeah, and that's something I actually wanted to ask you about, whether that could be incriminating, because just sort of playing devil's advocate, they lock him up for 5 days.
Right.
And then he gets out. I mean, again, not that I believe this, but playing devil's advocate, if he really is sort of grieving his wife disappearing and then they've suddenly locked you up for 5 days, maybe he's like, I got to get out of here. I don't know what they're going to do next.
Right. I do think that's a possible argument.
I've said this before too. Now, let's assume you're guilty. Sorry, I took a drink and I was eating that chili shit. And I'm choking. Let's assume you're guilty. You planned the murder of your wife. And you follow out that plan. Just because you planned it and it was intentional doesn't mean that you then might not be a little upset. Most people would be. That man, whether he killed her or she fell off the dinghy and drowned, either way, he had no emotion. Let's take the average person whose wife was killed in a car accident, fell off the boat, hit her head on a tree while skiing, whatever the case may be. You're probably going to be a little upset. Even if you did it on purpose, you're going to be, oh shit, I just killed somebody. You're going to be a little upset. This man has no emotion at all. Right? So what do you call that? I don't know. Is he not a psychopath? He's got no emotion at all. He's like a fucking robot.
But one of the things about no-body murder cases, they tend to almost always be circumstantial evidence cases. And so when you start to stack up all of these things, lied about where he was according to the GPS, had his navigation system turned off, now he's leaving when he said, I'm going to stay and try and find her, and now he's turning around and doing something different. I think all of those things point to a totality of circumstances that are significantly damning, as opposed to you didn't have any of that information and you simply had the idea that he said he was going to stay, but then once they released him, he left right away. That on its own could be subject to two interpretations, but when you stack up the rest of this evidence, I do think it's more damning.
And he's also been quiet ever since, which is kind of interesting. He did media interviews when he was in the Bahamas, said he was going to stay. I'm not leaving until I find her, left without anybody knowing, and then has just gone quiet. Like, it's not like he's saying, no, I want people to keep searching. I want to keep interest up.
He said, I'm checking out before the law checks in.
You know?
Exactly, because if now you're safe in the U.S., in his mind, because, it's Bahamas is going to arrest me, but I'm safe here in the U.S., now I'm going to say, hey, I do want them to continue doing the searches. I didn't want to be there because I was afraid they were going to arrest me. I don't want that. But you're right, to not say anything is again. And you see this time after time in missing persons cases that become nobody murders is the person who should be the most interested in conducting the searches, finding the person, is amazingly the person who's the least interested in doing any of that. You almost never have a nobody murderer spending significant amounts of time looking for the missing person, which to me is like nobody murderer 101. If your wife goes missing and you did it, you need to go on every search. You need to make it look like you care where she is and what happened. And for the reason that...
Now, you may want to lop off the head and the fingerprints and any tattoos that might... I'm just saying.
They know it's futile to do it because they know they've killed the person. They never do it.
Really appreciate Tad for taking the time to talk with me. So interesting what he had to say. I'll of course stay on this. You know, you got the dive teams in the Bahamas. I'll keep you guys posted with everything that happens. And
all right, folks, that's Brian Enton. He's done. He's wrapping it up. Let's go see what else we can find. More bullshit. Let's see what we got. Let's just look. What do we got for Banfield? I don't even know the name. Drop Dead Serious is the name of her channel, right? Get that right? All right, let's see what we got. 22 hours ago. 1 day ago. Come on, folks. That's about the same thing, ain't it? Seven days ago. Boy, she ain't. I'm going to go ahead and subscribe to her while we're sitting here. And click on her channel. Let's see what we got. So the newest thing is 22 hours ago. Now, we got, well, I got an idea, but let's just go over here and we'll watch her while I set this other thing up that I got going on.
It's so easy to become a podcaster with Riverside. First, go to Riverside and open
down
account.
by the
When you're
riverside.
ready to record, just
Shut the
rec to
fucking
capture
commercial up.
Hey everyone,
There we
I'm
go.
Ashley Banfield and this is Drop Dead Serious.
Let's
And
get over there in
welcome
the
to the
corner.
Northern
There you
Outpost.
go.
I am just going to warn you that it is nightfall now and it is frog mating season. And there are a couple thousand frogs just in the marsh outside the windows this way. So they make a racket and it's going to be pretty loud. I think you're going to be able to hear them. Yeah. That's the northern exposure for you. Anyway, huge details to tell you about in the Lynette Hooker investigation in the Bahamas. Today was like D-Day. I mean, I am so proud of the Coast Guard and what they did today. I am going to show you some amazing video of the Coast Guard descending on the Abacos group of islands to search multiple locations for where they believe Lynette Hooker may have been hidden. And they believe possibly by her husband, Brian Hooker, because now it's officially a suspected murder. And the geolocating with Brian Hooker's GPS, like what a dope, right? The guy had a watch and the guy had some phones, and I guess he thinks he's smarter than he is, because the story he told everybody about his wife, Lynette, bouncing off the back of the dinghy and then, oh no, I couldn't rescue her. It's such bullshit. And the GPS data proves it. So now it's just a matter of going to where the GPS data had him, because his story was somewhere else, and actually looking for Lynette. And can I just tell you that they mean business. The Coast Guard Investigative Service is nailing this one. They are on it, and they have been for over 7 weeks, working 7 days a week. And I know it because I see the stuff they're doing on weekends at midnight, like they're working nonstop. And today, everything came together. 154-foot Coast Guard cutter shows up in the Abacos with a crew of 24 and I think another dive team of 12 or so. I mean, there was a lot of people that showed up today. They did not even anchor that Coast Guard cutter before the rigid inflatable boat, something called an over-the-horizon boat, it's one that goes really fast, was in the water and taking teams to search locations, multiple search locations. They didn't even stop down to go and check into their hotels. Like, they were just lightning force. It was strike force. It was so impressive. And I can tell you that they went to multiple different locations. Maggie is back, babe. Maggie is the canine cadaver dog from Broward County on loan to the Coast Guard for this project for the second time. She was there the last time I was there. She was back on the beaches and she was back on lubbers searching different areas this time because now we know Brian's story is bullshit. So now, you know, it was a whole red herring boondoggle before. Maggie was searching based on a lot of what Brian said. Well, now we know what Brian said is garbage and we're now it's a search based on what Brian really did, where his GPS took him. So I'm going to show you all sorts of things that Coast Guard was doing today. And because this is such a monumental day in this case, I mean, 7+ weeks, right? And the Coast Guard comes steaming
I'm not ignoring you. I'm
armed
working
with
on
all
something.
this information, going to specific locations that they know Brian's GPS took him to. I wanted to talk to Carly Aylesworth, that's Lynette's daughter, about, you know, how this affects her. You know, she's been waiting for someone to find her mom. You know, she's gone through a birthday and Mother's Day, all without her mom. And this is a big deal. Like, suddenly when there's this much action, it just feels, you know, well, I'll let her tell you because Carly's going to talk to me in just a moment about what this incredible support team that arrived in the Bahamas today means to her. I mentioned to you in the last episode that they were bringing like the tools, right? They've got dive teams. They've got a remote operated vehicle that goes underwater, an ROV. You'll remember that from all the MH370 coverage that we did years ago when that plane disappeared. So a lot of underwater searching. You're going to see all of that as well. They went to the Abaco Inn. That's where so much of this all began, right? The Abaco Inn, the place that has the video, Abaco Inn, the place that has the video, a remote operated vehicle that goes underwater, an ROV. You'll remember that from all the MH370.
All right, folks, we're going to play a little game here. Identify the celebrity in disguise. Now, you see this celebrity on the screen right here. Now, is that A, Eugene Levy, B, Al Lewis, or C, Corey Feldman? Leave your guess in the comments. A for Eugene Levy, B for Al Lewis, and C for Corey Feldman. Now, unfortunately, well, you know what? Tell you what. You leave a comment, your guess as to which celebrity is in disguise right here, and we will get you an honorary Possum County citizen certificate free of charge. All right? So you leave yourself a comment. A, Eugene Levy. B, Al Lewis. And if you don't know who Al Lewis is, you dumb bastard, watch this. Now you know Al Lewis won Grandpa Munster. All right. Leave your guess in the comments for a free Possum County citizen. Let's get rid of that toolbar. certificate. All right, let's get back to it.
Coverage that we did years ago when that plane disappeared. So a lot of
I don't know what the
underwater
hell she's
searching, you're going to
talking
see
about.
all of that as well. They went to the Abaco Inn. That's where so much of this all began, right? The Abaco Inn, the place that has the video of Brian and Lynette leaving, but they won't share it. You know, they've been ordered by the Royal Bahamian Police not to share it with anyone. Never mind. Coast Guard got some of it anyway. There's multiple cameras at the Abaco Inn. They didn't get all of it. They got some of it. But there's still more video, I think, at the Abaco.
You see how she uses that faint, drop dead serious watermark across there? If you want to put content up that you don't want people just stealing it, it's a good idea to do that.
In that would be very informative as to the exact time that Brian and Lynette left and what their body language was. In any case, Brian said it was 7:30. A couple minutes later, he says he's turning out the White Sound channel and she spills out the back and he got separated in big waves and wind and tide, which didn't exist because we have the proof of that. And so
let me just add, we're not making fun of Eugene Levy. We love Eugene Levy. For you know, I remember I said, for fuck's sake, for Schitt's Creek, Eugene Levy, go check that out.
So back they went today. The Coast Guard kind of is using the Abaco Inn as a launching area. They got a big dock there, a couple of big docks, where they can sort of come in and go out and get people onto Elbow Key where they're staying and get them off into everywhere around the Sea of Abaco where you're searching. There are many places. And let me tell you something. It was very cool that the Coast Guard cutter Margaret Norvell, named after a woman, thank you, that cutter ended up coming in north of Manowar Key. That's a lot further north than Elbow Key and Lubbers and Marsh Harbor, but it's sort of all within the vicinity. And then later, I told you it didn't drop anchor, right? I figured it'd drop anchor. Didn't drop anchor. It launched the rib, and off the workers all went, all the agents and the searchers and the divers. And then it actually made its way south. And last it was seen was off the east coast of Elbow Key. I showed you that picture, the last known picture of Lynette Hooker and Brian Hooker. They were at a pool at the Abaco Inn looking eastward into the roiling Atlantic Ocean. That is pretty much where the Coast Guard cutter was last seen. So it moved southward from Manowar Key, and it was seen off of Elbow Key. And one of those tender, if you have a big vessel and there's a smaller vessel that moves people around to the vessel, it's called a tender. And so the rib, the rigid inflatable boat, that was seen zooming into Toulouse Cut. So we know that one of the search areas today was Toulouse. Don't know if divers were in Toulouse, but I do know that one dive team spent most of the day that they had, from the moment they...
Toulouse. Skip to Toulouse, my darling. There you go.
Got off the cutter, just off the eastern shore of Marsh Harbor. And there's a very specific place I want to show you.
Watch this.
So, points of interest in Marsh Harbor is south of where Brian says he washed up. He didn't wash up. That's garbage. But one of the spots of interest is called Witch Point, as in Halloween witches. Witch Point. And north of Witch Point, there's this, if you look on a map, there's like a square hole of water, of dark water. And clearly it's not natural. So it turns out that is an abandoned old harbor, little man-made harbor, where boats used to come in and out of. But it sure is close. Brian Hooker's dinghy ended up being, retrieved by the Volunteer Fire and Rescue, Hopetown Volunteer Fire and Rescue. Please give generously. They're all volunteer. And it's even further south than the boatyard, where he, nonchalantly lumbered in, looking around, peering in between things, and then saying, help, help, but barely even raising his voice. The day that he'd been marooned, right? Floating for 9 hours. If his story was true, it wasn't. So the dive team went to that harbor, that abandoned cutout.
Wouldn't you think the oar on the dinghy that's missing would float? So if that typically would float, I don't know, maybe they don't, I don't know. Where'd that go? If I was making an oar, oh shit, I dropped my oar, I'd want it to float, not sink to the bottom, but I don't know. If it's solid wood handles, maybe not, but if it's some kind of composite handle that's hollow inside, that's plugged on the end, it's full of air, it would float.
Harbor today. And they took the ROV. They took the remote operated vehicle and
that's
put
cool.
that underwater.
That's cool.
And
that's
my
like a
guys
water
were
drone.
there.
We got Billy Clyde all over it. Billy Clyde, how come you don't got a water drone?
There was a lot of work to be done and a lot of crews doing a lot of things at the same time today. And they took today as a journey day to get from Florida to Bahamas, but then also as a work day. So they had limited daylight. But man, it was good to see these guys at work. Let me play it so you can hear the noise of the ROV and see these guys at work.
I tell you this much. The drone we got that I fly, I'm not going to say government, is a $30,000 drone. I can imagine what that damn thing right there cost. Because I guarantee you, with all the bullshit that's going on with the Chinese, oh no, we got to hide shit. That's made in America and it costs 4 times what it would cost if it was made in China. I'm not whining, I'm just saying. Billy Clyde, I like my, look at, remember what I told you? $4 hat from Team U right here. You're not going to get that hat made in America for $4. Billy J. Spanklin, he don't mind. Billy J. Spanklin, he don't mind that $4 Team U hat. It's just fine for him. So there's a place for all this Chinese shit. I'm reading over the screen over here. This has nothing to do with anything. I'm just going to... Oakhurst School District bus mechanic charged after billing $1.3 million for parts he resold on eBay.
And when you look at these pictures, honestly, what comes to mind for me is that cute expression, not all heroes wear capes, because I know these people have been working so incredibly hard, and there they are. And there's little Maggie. Maggie is on board the Over the Horizon fast boat that's leaving the cutter and heading, for search locations. And so there she is on her way to work. She's going to be there for 4 days. Again, big thank you to Broward County for loaning Maggie to the Coast Guard to be able to do this investigation. I want to also mention that one eagle-eyed person spotted another vessel that was being launched by the Royal Bahamian Police Force. And this looks like one of the vessels that Lindsay and I saw when we were in the Bahamas at first coverage of this, 7 weeks ago. But they were launching that boat as well. So I'm assuming that this was in assistance with the Coast Guard effort. Because listen, the Coast Guard effort had so much GPS data.
Hell?
They had a specific plan, right, for these next couple of days. So just a lot of boating that needed to happen today to get everybody where they needed to go. But I think that might have been what the Royal Bahamian Police Force was up to when they were launching that boat. And great thanks to the person who captured that. We also had a lot of images from friends of ours all throughout the Abacos.
We're at 1 hour and 41 minutes, folks.
Sent me these photographs. These were images that showed searching on the northwest part of Lubbers. There's been a lot of construction up there, a lot of damage from Hurricane Dorian. We spotted an abandoned pool. Actually, Nathan, who's been doing so much work for us, he walked up and down that area and he saw that pool too, showed you the video of it in one of our prior episodes. But these were now images sent to us by viewers and supporters who have been wanting to help out, have been offering their services to the Americans in any way they can, even as just local guides or to help them find boats or golf carts or captains or accommodations. So some great pictures coming in there. And then these images came from Captain Snow. Captain Snow, thank you for being a part of this. It's the first time we've engaged with you. So appreciate your images. You can see the Coast Guard and their crew on board the Over the Horizon boat. So let me talk about the northwest side of Lubbers a little bit because, when the Coast Guard was originally there, Brian was feeding everybody such a line of bullshit that wasn't where they focused. And little Maggie didn't go over there and south of, the northern part of the island. And so Maggie's doing that now. We got some really great images of Maggie at work over there.
You made a first-class fool out of me.
Real secluded beaches, places where Brian and Lynette probably found some secluded, wonderful beaches in better days when they were paddleboarding and exploring the beautiful Abacos. So if you had to remember in the black of night where you'd been that was really good and secluded and, I don't know, a good place for a body, maybe that west side of Lubbers in the northern area.
Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where in the hell are you at? Cotton Eye Joe. Cotton Eye Joe.
Maybe that would be a good spot. But super interesting to just finally see, the Coast Guard investigators at work on the ground. Maggie back on land. One other thing that Maggie has to do while she's there is get a sniff of that dinghy.
Yeah.
The Royal Bahamian Police Force has Brian and Lynette's dinghy from Soulmate. The dinghy is in impound. I don't know if the dinghy is outside or inside. But if it's outside, I really hope it's upside down so that 7 weeks of weather hasn't, say, diluted the possibility of evidence or potential smell, something that Maggie could actually get a bead on.
Hold on. Let's say you killed somebody and you put them in that dinghy and started. How long before the remains start making a scent that the cadaver dog is going to recognize as the scent of a dead body? I mean, is that minutes, hours? Like, how long before that scent is effective? I mean, you're not going to rot 5 minutes. I don't know. That's a good question. Somebody Google that shit up. Well, only if we had something called, like, artificial intelligence, we could ask this shit too.
I don't know, but Maggie has to get into that dinghy and have a sniff. If you watched one of my earlier episodes, I talked about the length of time that a body has to have, how do I put this? The length of time it takes for the smell of decomposition to begin being emitted from a body after death.
I just said that.
The kind of decomposition that a cadaver dog could smell. And the experts told me 3 hours.
3 hours.
About 3 hours.
So, hit her on the head. Threw her in the dinghy. took it out from the water, tied the weight belt on her, threw in the water. 28 minutes, no cadaver dog sniffing, done. Oh, he has not been charged. He's guilty. I'm sorry. He's innocent until proven guilty.
From the time of death is when a body will emit the kind of decomp that can be tracked and alerted on by a Maggie. So let's just say if, because we don't know, Brian Hooker hasn't been charged with anything yet. But let's just say if Brian Hooker killed Lynette Hooker and then had to devise some dastardly plan to get rid of her body.
You wait, you watch for her to say tick-tock. Tick-tock, motherfucker, whatever it might be. You listen for tick-tock.
How long did it take him? And how long might Lynette have been in the dinghy? Because if she was
not
in
3
there
hours.
any longer than 3 hours, maybe, just maybe, there's something that Maggie will hit on. And let's just hope for a miracle here. Let's just hope for the best. Let's hope that they can find Lynette and bring Lynette home. And then, of course, you know what that means.
Right. I didn't get any votes. A for Eugene Levy, B for Al Lewis, and 3 for Corey Feldman. Right here. Celebrity in disguise. You in the comments, leave your vote.
It means Brian Hooker possibly in handcuffs.
Even if you're watching the VOD or the video on demand, once this is nowhere live, we want you to vote on that celebrity in disguise contest.
I say possibly only because I know how the feds work. It's different. Federal investigations, they get like 95% of their case figured out and then arrest. Usually in the state, you get like, maybe 30 or 40% of your case, and then you investigate for, I don't know, a year or two, and then you go to trial, or 3 or 4. But in the federal system, when you arrest, you're almost ready for trial in a couple months. So might Brian Hooker get arrested? Yeah, for sure. I mean, if they find Lynette's body, I think for sure. If they don't find Lynette's body, would he not be arrested? Hell to the no. You don't need a body for a prosecution. Let me just tell you, I've covered numerous cases in my 38 years in this business where there have been prosecutions, successful prosecutions.
All right, folks, again, celebrity in disguise. You name this celebrity. A, Eugene Levy. B, Al Lewis, a.k.a. Grandpa Munster. Or C, Corey Feldman. And the winner is going to get a Possum County honorary certificate of citizenship.
Where the body was never found. Because there's all sorts of other evidence, right? All sorts of lying, all sorts of weird behavior in the middle of the night, right? All sorts of GPS stuff. If you missed yesterday's episode, you might have missed that Brian got himself a new attorney.
Yeah. Remember?
Smart.
I told you.
Because this new attorney apparently used to work for the DOJ. So knows a thing or two about federal law, federal prosecutions, and federal oh shit moments. Because I think Brian Hooker's in for a federal oh shit moment really soon. So getting this new lawyer, probably smart. Don't know where, but apparently this new lawyer is based in Michigan. I don't know if he came back to Michigan
Grandpa Munster,
caring for his sick mom, which is the reason he had to bounce from the Bahamas instead of looking for his wife, or never leaving, or it'll take a higher authority for me to leave here. Pfft, yet another load of crap. Anyway, he's been cooling his heels in Sacramento area where his mom apparently was ailing. I don't believe that either. I don't believe that he was there for her if she was ailing. But he's gone back to Michigan. He was spotted by some of his old AT&T associates. I won't call them friends. They don't like him much. And they told me, yeah, he was in Michigan, back in his hometown. But then he bounced from there again. And I think he was back in Sacramento, but then got this new lawyer based apparently in Michigan. So he probably came back to Michigan or did some serious Zooming. I don't know. I don't know what.
We're at 150. We're probably going to call this in 2 hours. Yeah. Al Lewis. Be shut up over there, Billy Clyde. What the hell?
What this guy's MO is. I just know he's shady.
tell you what Billy Clyde was doing. When you're streaming, you got something called replay buffer. If something happens and you want to replay that, save a quick snippet of it. Let's say you're playing a game online and you get shot in the head and you hit the button. It'll go back and get the last how many ever seconds you set it up to, 30, 20, whatever. I was trying to say something, hit that button so I could use that as a short later, but I talked too long or I have it set too short either way. But that's why I was doing that. I was playing around with something.
Because you know what? This is going to take a village. This guy was sneaky. Brian Hooker was sneaky. And you know how I can say that with a...
Let me tell you, folks, every village has an idiot. And in your village, if you don't see one, it's probably you.
Plum, because he was fired from AT&T for being sneaky, for masking his location, for lying and cheating and trying to hide where his van was by dickering with his GPS unit. He's a master of
covered all this, Ashley, already on your behalf.
If he did what I believe he did to Lynette Hooker, he skulked around and tried to mask everything.
All right. Hit her in the head with an oar, killed her, weighted the body, dumped it in the water. Guilty as charged, but innocent until proven guilty outside of Possum County, USA.
Everything that came afterwards. But he's no match for the Coast Guard Investigative Service. He just isn't. And I don't think he's going to be a match for Maggie. So, a couple of things I want to let you know about. My dear friend, I love these new friends that I have through doing this podcast and this particular story. Dean Zomzow. Remember Dean and his two daughters gave us that video at night that was surveillance video that went out across the Sea of Abaco towards Elbow Key and had a beat on Soulmate? Saw all the activity at night, all the lights and the flashlights. Well, Dean actually knows some folks on Lubbers who were able to find clothing that matched the color of Lynette's bathing suit cover-up. Remember that aqua-colored bathing suit cover-up she was last seen in? No thanks to Brian for telling us, because he told the search and rescue folks, no, just a black bathing suit, just a two-piece, nothing else.
Well, she had some weird shit tied in the front.
There was a navy blue, royal blue Conch Republic scarf she had on her head and an aqua-colored bathing suit cover-up, and it looked like she might have even had a black fan.
Aqua, or as we call it in Possum County, aqua.
Pack as well in the picture that we saw of her at the Abaco Inn. So, Brian, you're full of shit.
Full of shit.
Anyway, it's
full of shit is a Christmas turkey.
Apparent that some folks found an article of clothing that matches Lynette's shirt, and they turned it in to the Coast Guard. Not only did they turn in the actual item of clothing, they gave the coordinates of where exactly it was found. So smart thinking, whoever you are. I'd love to meet you. Thank you for doing that. Anyway, it's apparent that some folks found an article of clothing that matches Lynette's shirt, and they turned it in to the Coast Guard. Not only did they turn in the actual item of clothing, they gave the coordinates of where exactly it was found.
Not heard that.
Smart thinking, whoever you are. Nice. I'd love to meet you. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for helping. So again, this is northwest end of Lubbers, where all the searching was going on with Maggie today.
You see that? I got a pet peeve here, folks. I'm sorry. You see that TV in the back? It's on the right side of the screen. And to watch that, you'd probably sit in the couch on the far left side of the screen, looking up at that TV with your neck as sore as fuck from looking up all night. For fuck's sake, folks, your eye line should be just a little above the center of the center line horizon of the TV. You dumbasses that mount the TV high. Oh, look at my giant fucking TV way up over my fireplace. And now I'm watching TV and my neck fucking hurts. Come on now.
They were also searching a little bit lower on Lubbers as well. But again, all the west side. So sort of mid Lubbers and west, because there's a lot of abandoned and secluded beach areas there. real easy to come in and...
You know, people make shit up because they think they're clever or cool or whatever. I've been watching a lot of drone shit lately, and it's very popular to fly the FPV. That's the drone where you fly with the goggles in abandoned buildings. It's kind of cool. I would like to try that. They call the abandoned building, because they're so clever, they call it a bando.
Say, I don't know, an 8-foot dinghy in the dark of night.
Billy Clyde, fuck up for the drone shit.
Anyway, clearly GPS locations have put Brian in this area because nobody'd be bothering with it if it didn't, right? So obviously, look, these images have a lot of effect on me, certainly, and I think they do on you as well.
June 4th, by the way.
But boy, oh boy, do they ever affect Carly. Carly Aylesworth is Lynette's daughter.
Holy shit, if I didn't wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning and couldn't go back to sleep hardly at all, came home from, I could have dozed off at work. Came home from work, yeah, Billy Clyde has a fucking job. Came home from work, sat down on the recliner, and my ass passed out like a possum in the headlights.
And I talked to her about what these images of this incredible response to her mom's case, what they mean to her. Here's our conversation. Quick word from my sponsor.
Oy.
When was the last time you actually went to the doctor? Not Google free app and website /ban. American Carly, this is a big com / This message is sponsored by Zach. Carly, this is a big day.
So
American Coast Guard.
I saw this last night because I was falling in and out of sleep. Like I said, I woke up at 1 in the morning. I actually woke up, fall asleep, wake up at one point, and this was on. So I saw some of this, but not from the beginning. But I did watch it to the end from whenever I woke up, but I did not see it from the very beginning. And you got to feel sorry for this girl. What the hell? 7 weeks now her mom's been missing. She's holding it together. She never cries or anything. Give these people credit, like the Nancy Guthrie, and you got... Can you even imagine? It's one thing when something bad happens, but can you imagine of 7 weeks of not knowing shit?
They are there, boots on the ground. How do you feel about it?
I feel better this time. They have more of an idea of where to look and everything, so I have a feeling something is going to happen this time that they're down there.
And I'll tell you what, they didn't just show up, they showed up, with the 150 plus foot Coast Guard cutter, over 25 people with vehicles and ROVs and divers. And I mean, this was like an armada.
Yeah, I didn't know about the cars, but I knew about the swimmers. That's wild.
Well, the remote operated vehicles are going to go underwater. I mean, they've been underwater even today.
Oh, so, those, yeah.
But this must feel like you're getting...
I don't know what the hell she thought she was talking about cars, but whatever. We'll give her a pass on that.
A lot of action on this case. These people are dedicated to finding your mom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it feels really nice to have all the support and everything, and people helping look, because there's no way I could do this by myself.
No.
And I'll tell you what, seeing the Coast Guard arriving, they're being supported by a ton of locals. Like, there are so many local folks from the Abacos in the Bahamas that are helping the Coast Guard. That's got to feel pretty special.
Yeah, it is. Especially when we went down there, they were really helpful when we were there. So it's just nice.
So here we are. You and I are talking. It's now 7 weeks and 3 days since your mom disappeared. And I'm just only imagining that you felt a bit helpless in a lot of that time.
Yeah, a lot of waiting to see what happens. But I know
listening.
There's been a lot
I'm
of
going
work
to go to my
behind the
third
scenes,
screen
but
all the way over there and ask
time.
co-pilot question.
And you know how hard these guys have been working with sieges, the Coast Guard Investigative Service. Like, I think I told you beforehand, they're doing 7 days a week.
Yep.
Well, talk to me about that. How does that feel?
That feels nice. Like, it's not just a job to them, that they actually care and they're dedicated. And it's really nice because I'm glad they're taking it with this much seriousness, because I can't do this alone. So it's really nice to have all their help and that they were really interested in doing an investigation to see like what actually went on. So I'm just happy that they're doing everything they can.
Were you surprised to see Maggie, the canine that went back over, the Broward County canine that went back over with her handler, Chris?
Yeah, I'm glad she did.
So, yeah, today she was over the west side of Lubbers. Last time she was on the east side of Lubbers because everybody was trying to figure out Brian's story, right? Now they have a lot more data to go on. They've got actual data, GPS data from him. So
I think it's important for you to know that my foot hurts right now.
Tell me your thoughts about that as you have processed Brian Hooker's stories and his involvement in all of this. What sort of a conclusion have you come to?
I mean, I always had an idea that his story wasn't truthful, but just knowing that there's now proof, like hardcore proof that he was lying, I'm just happy that they're really looking into this now and were able to find out that information because I had a gut feeling, especially since those threats. So I'm just really glad that they did this.
Which threats are you talking about?
Just the ones from 2 years ago of him choking her and threatening to kill her.
Right, when your mom said to, I believe, her friend Rachel that he choked her, he bruised her, she photographed her own bruises on her back, and she said that Lynette said that Brian had said, I wished I'd finished the job.
Yep.
I mean, that's got to be really hard to process, knowing that she had struggled with him so often.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of saw the signs of her physically. Like, she lost a bunch of weight, and she weighs like 130 now. And I remember being in that type of relationship, and I lost that much weight because of stress because of him. So I was like, I feel like all the signs are here, but they act like such a good couple in front of me. So, yeah.
When you were on board Soulmate, what is it, back in February, I think you took your trip to the Bahamas. Like, describe their dynamic.
Brian was always really chatty. My mom,
Billy Clyde
she wasn't as chatty as Brian, but I don't know, every time I would be with them in a family gathering, I would always be with my mom and hang out with my mom. And they always seemed fine. And if they started like having an argument, they would just like drop it and just.
Well, we're at a party. We're having an argument. We'll drop it. And I'll beat the shit out of you when we get home. That's Brian Hooker's deal. Yeah.
Kind of talk about something else. So I didn't really see anything bad. So I never got like a suspicion of anything terrible. Like, I knew situations have happened, but I didn't think it was like an ongoing.
No battery.
Do you find it extraordinary that Brian made one phone call to you to give you this load of garbage story about what happened to your mom, and then just never was there again for you, never called again, didn't show up, didn't mourn with you what was going on, didn't ask you to come to the Bahamas to help search? I mean, it was literally he just vanished from your life.
Yeah. I mean, he did try. He called and texted, but I didn't respond. So I think after being on the news talking about him, he decided to stop talking to me. So I guess he did try a little, but I wasn't buying any of the story or his fake empathy. Yeah.
What sort of outreach was there? Like, tell me what he said in his text messages before he went dark.
He said some lady can take care of Rosie and I, because it was a group chat with the three of us.
Meanwhile, her mom's missing, and it was over 24 hours before you even called her. Hey, by the way, your mom's ass bounced off the back of the dinghy, and we can't find her. I'm just saying.
How she could take care of us. She's really nice, and that he wished he could be there for us, but he has to be there right now. And she's like, I love you, Dad. I didn't say anything. And then, yeah, that's like one of the last times I heard from him.
So Brian said to you he needed to be where right now?
In the Bahamas looking.
Well, that was just week 1. And then what about after that?
Then the next week I went.
I'm Brian Hooker. I'm checking out before the law checks in.
At the beginning of the week, and he ditched.
Like, and did you hear from him
day.
again? Text messages, emails, anything? Mm-hmm. So he reached out to you in the very beginning when he had a story to tell that was bogus. Mm-hmm. And then once he ditched the Bahamas, you never heard from him again.
Nope.
Again, just to remind our viewers, this is someone you've had as a dad since like age 3.
Yeah. I would call him like part of my parents because, he's always been there as a father figure.
I got
even though I don't call him dad, but he's always been there.
We're going to get another high-class opinion on this subject. Dwight, do you think Brian Hooker killed his wife? Well, shit's backwards. Well, he did. Oh, yeah. All right. Now, Dilly, he don't know shit. We'll leave Dilly out of it. Dumb son of a bitch.
Didn't he say in one of his recordings, or maybe it was a text to you, "Hi, it's
Billy
Dad"?
Clyde, that was fucking stupid.
Yeah. It might have been like a group chat with Rosie and I too, but I've never called him Dad. I think when
Rosie, you're all right. You wear my ring.
I was little,
Jackson Brown.
I called him Dad, but then my dad was like, "You're not going to call him Dad." I was like, okay. So I stopped doing it.
Trivia question. In the late 1970s or early 1980s, and I could have those dates completely wrong, Jackson Brown. What celebrity did Jackson Brown beat the shit out of? Leave it in the comments.
Doing that.
I think your dad might have had some foresight there, huh?
Mm-hmm. He did not really was a fan of him either. But
my wife stopped trusting me because I never do the things I say.
Well, because you're an AI fuck, you fuck, you AI fuck.
So listen, you're one of the rare people who's actually been to some of those locations that they're searching in the Bahamas. You've been to the Abaco Inn. That's where they were today. You've been all over the water. You've been out sort of in the Lubbers area in the Sea of Abaco. You've been to Marsh Harbor. Do you have any thoughts as you start seeing pictures and video of these guys in the same place now, really, with all the gear and all the manpower?
yeah, I just have a feeling that she's in the water somewhere with those scuba weights.
Can you
that are
imagine
missing,
you're safe?
But that's just my feeling. So I don't know if she can be on land because I know it's all like limestone. And that stuff is really hard to break through, so I feel like she might be in the water.
And if Brian did it, I'm not saying he did because he's not charged yet.
All right. Earlier I said BCD. I couldn't remember what it stood for. I remembered the B and the D, but not the C. Buoyancy Control Device, a.k.a. a weight belt.
But he had to work in the dark and didn't have a whole lot of time,
Yeah.
And so it would be somewhere he'd have to know, because you're not going to go exploring in pitch black with a, 3 horsepower electric engine and an 8-foot dinghy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think she might also be at the Snappa's Inn or wherever that demolished old marina at
Snapper
the end of
Point.
the
Snapper Point
Yep,
Marina.
Yep. That could be a place because I remember we went there and we explored around and took some pictures. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
They did that a lot, right? Like when you weren't there, Brian and Lynette would get on their paddle boards, or they'd go and explore like remote beaches and off beaten track places. So he would have been familiar, at least with several places around the Abacos, because they'd been there already for about 9 weeks.
Mm-hmm. A couple months, yeah.
And did you see that there was a real like desire most days, like let's go out and go find places and go see stuff?
When it wasn't really windy, we tried to go paddleboarding. So one day we went paddleboarding. It was calmer in the morning, and then a couple days we like went by Marsh Harbor and just like went around in the little channels and mangroves. And another day we went up to that beach at Snapper Point.
Remember. So
Snapper Point.
Tell me about the mangroves. You said you used to go into the mangroves?
A little bit. It's like off, like when you're looking at the restaurant in Konkin to the left, there's like mangroves you can like boat through. So we explored that, try to see turtles.
Okay, so he'd be familiar with the mangroves inside that area. And I always tell people it's like where the mooring ball is, just in the harbor off from the Konkin. And so you're saying if you were staring straight at the Konkin, it'd be over on the left, and there's a whole mangrove area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, little channels, and there's like a sunken boat over there. Yeah.
Well, that'd be a critical spot, you'd think, as long as the data,
I usually
puts
watch
them there, because
I
at
got
this
3
point,
screens.
it's
my
nice
phone.
to
I
know
usually watch
that
the screen over here.
they're not just guessing
It's full screen.
based on how far could the
Whereas over
boat go
here, I
with this
see
amount of battery and this kind of weather. They're now actually like
I
basing
don't
their
realize
searches
she's
off
got chat on
where
her
does
face.
his GPS information actually put him, because that guy had a phone and he had a watch, and presumably he had some of your mom's stuff as well that if he's guilty of this, he was trying to ditch
Ditch the bitch.
That's sick.
Let's tase him.
Yeah, it's pretty uncomfortable to think of it, but thank God, though, that the searchers have more to go on, that the Coast Guard investigators have more to go on. Do you have like something that you'd
right
wanna
on
say
5
to them,
minutes?
Carly,
That'll put this thing at 2
these
hours
guys,
and 18
one in
minutes.
particular I know is working every Saturday and every Sunday and all 5 days a week. And by the way, till midnight, 1 a.m., there's no time that he doesn't seem to be working on this case.
Yeah, I even talk to my contact sometimes in the Coast Guard, and I'm like, you're probably already 10 steps ahead of me. He's like, no, it's all right. Just whatever in data you have, just send it over anyways. I was like, okay. So I like know they're working hard, and they've already thought of it. They're more experienced in this type of stuff. So I'm just glad, that they're working on it. But I have a feeling she might be in the trash, because maybe Brian knew that cadaver dogs can't tell the difference between the trash and a person, or she's, but I don't know how much that means.
Well, I can just imagine that you're very thankful, for the hard work that these people are doing. And I mean, like I said, Coast Guard cutter Margaret Norvell, and they didn't even anchor that Coast Guard cutter. They launched that rib and they were gone, and they were working already, I would say, within maybe not even an hour of that cutter pulling up to the northern part of Man o' War Key. That's where it's deep enough for them. They draw like 9.5 feet, right? They're really deep, that cutter. But yeah, within like an hour, they were already at work. No settling in, no getting to the hotel, none of that, just working. And that must feel really good for you. You want to tell them something? You want to give a message for them?
I'm just really grateful and thankful that you guys are doing all you can to get to the bottom of this and keep investigating to get answers, because a lot of people have a feeling that it was wrong, his story. So I'm just really glad that you guys looked into it and found as much as you have so far.
Do you have a message for Brian?
Not really. I don't want to talk to him. Like, I don't want him around. I don't think
I get that to show more.
He's been enough influence on my life. I don't think I want that type of mindset around me.
You don't need this.
What do you hope is going to happen to him?
I hope he gets put in prison for the rest of his life, and
I hope you die in prison, you son of a bitch.
I don't know. I know prisoners don't really like people who beat women, because I worked in a prison before, so good luck.
Carly, thanks so much for talking with me. We'll keep in touch as they continue the work. It's going to be about 4 days. That's just the original plan, for the Coast Guard to be there. So we'll stay in touch, and we'll hope for a good result.
Thank you. Me too.
Excuse me.
So I can tell you this. Hopefully the teams that are working, they worked late into the night, into the dark. I know that because some of those team members were delivered back to the dock after dark. So they worked really late. They used every ounce of daylight they could get in the Bahamas tonight, and then went back in the dark. They got an early start tomorrow morning. They're going to be out on the water at 8:30 in the morning, and they're going to a location back on Marsh Harbor. Today, I told you they were in that old abandoned, square harbor just north of Witch Point. They're going to another location on Marsh Harbor tomorrow, another specific spot. And let me tell you, Brian Hooker didn't just wash up on Marsh Harbor, floating with no propulsion. Oh, no, I've been at sea for 9 hours because my wife fell off, blah, blah, blah. No, he washed up a couple times, which, is really hard to do if you don't have an engine and the sea is blowing you, right? And you're helpless. He's a U.S. Marine. Helpless. Yeah, he landed a couple times on Marsh Harbor. Now, how does that work? It works when you're full of shit, Brian Hooker. Tick-tock.
There you go. Told you about TikTok.
And they're just finishing it up. Anyway, I'm going to take you to that location tomorrow where they're going to search as well. And look, let's all cross our fingers and say a prayer that they're going to find Lynette and bring Lynette home to her daughter Carly and to her mom Darlene. They deserve to have her back. And you know what? Everybody deserves to see Brian Hooker in handcuffs, because hopefully that's where this is heading. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you for watching. And remember, truth isn't just serious, it's drop dead serious.
Oops, we don't want that one. We want this one over here. All right, folks. That's about it. At 2 hours and 18 minutes, we went through Brian Enton and Ashley Banfield. I tell you, that's the two, of all this stuff, that's the two journalists that I like the most. I tell you, you don't want to watch Billy Clyde. Watch somebody. Don't watch that fake AI shit. They got pictures and videos cycling through. They don't match up with what's being narrated on the screen, and what is being narrated on the screen is just AI. So somebody said blah blah blah, create a script. They took that script and they copied it and they pasted it into 11 Labs and they clicked OK, and that made the recording, and they just looped together 6 pieces of video. Don't watch that shit. Save it. I'm not saying, oh, you got to watch Billy Clyde. Don't watch Billy Clyde if you don't like it. Find a person you like and watch a real person, not a fucking robot. How about that? All right, guess what? I'm Billy Clyde Tuggle. I'm out like a possum in the headlights. Now, you go get that merch. Go get it. I'm out.